Okay, we're going to look at that same quadratic equation, and this time we're going to be using our last technique, which is using the quadratic formula. This is probably the most powerful technique because it should always work. The only drawback to it is sometimes if you can factor quickly, you'd rather do it that way. But this is just a formula. It's plug things in, chug out the answer. So here's the quadratic formula. Here's our quadratic equation. Let's first get it into the form that we need. It needs to have everything on one side of the equation. So I subtract 3 from both sides. And now I need to identify a, b, and c. So a is always going to be the number in front of x squared, which is just 2. B will always be the number in front of x, which is -1. And then c will always be the constant by itself, -3. Now we have a, b, and c, and we go directly into this formula. Our solutions, our x values, should be equal to -b. So negative b is the same as -1. So it'll be +1 plus or minus the square root. Now, b squared, if you take -1 and you square it, -1 times -1 gives us +1, minus 4 now times a, now a is 2, times c, c is -3. All of this, the entire thing, is going to be divided by 2 times, now a here is 2. Okay, now we need to simplify this and figure out what this is. So we want to start inside the root, and what I like to always do is just look at, forget the minus sign for now, and just figure out what these 3 multiply to be. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times -3 is -24. So let me rewrite what I've got here. 1 plus or minus square root. I have 1, I said to ignore the minus sign, right? 1 minus, and then this came out to be -24, so I'm going to put in parentheses. All of this over 2 times 2, which is 4. These are our x values. And now we'll continue. We know that minus and negative means plus, so I still have 1 plus or minus square root. 1 plus 24 is 25. All of this divided by 4. And now we're going to just take the square root of 25. Thank goodness for us, that's a perfect square. That's 5. And then over 4. And now again, we have 2 answers. First answer is when we add 1 plus 5 over 4. That gives us 6/4, which is 3/2. And then our second answer is what we get when we subtract. 1 minus 5 over 4. That's that's -4 over 4, which is -1. So you can now verify again that those solutions are exactly what we got using both the factoring technique and the completing the square technique.